Good morning, children. In today's class, we have done lesson number 6, the land of dense forest. Okay, so in this coming chapter, children, we are going to learn all about the countries or the region that falls under the torrid zone. Okay, like in the last class, last chapter, we have learned all about the heat zones of the earth. The earth is divided into 3 heat zones, that is the torrid zone, temperate zone and frigid zone. So in this chapter, lesson number 6, we are going to learn about the forest that falls under the torrid zone, children. So before starting up the chapter, these are the new words which will help you out to understand this lesson well. Okay, so I will read these new words for you. It is number 1, equatorial region. Number 2, river basin. Number 3, vegetation. Number 4, evergreen forest. Number 5, marshy lands. Number 6, economic resources. Number 7, forestry. Number 8, livestock rearing. Number 9, cash crop. Number 10, primitive. Okay, so I will be explaining you the meanings of these 10 words to you. First, let's talk about the equatorial region. When we are talking about the equatorial region, children, we are talking about the area that is near to the equator. See, can you see in this picture, this purple belt over here? See, this is the line of equator, and the area on both the sides of the equator, we call it as equatorial region. Okay. See, when we are talking about the equatorial region, children, we will be discussing here about the different forest that falls under the equatorial region. See here, Amazon rainforest, it falls under, it is in South America. There are some forests in Central America as well. Then we are going to study about the Congo Basin. Again, the rainforest is here in the Congo Basin. Our chapter will basically cover Congo Basin. All right, children. Other than that, we have some dry and deciduous forest which is found in South Asia. Okay. Again, it lies in the torrid zone. And also we have got some forest here in Australia as well. Okay. Now, what is a river basin? River basin means the land area that is drained by a river and its tributaries. When a river flows, so the land near to the river and its tributaries, the land, we call it as the river basin, the area that is watered by the river and its tributaries. See, I'll show you here. See this picture. Can you see here? The source of water here is the mountains, or you can say the rainfall, or you can say the glaciers that is melting down. The water from the glacier is coming down in the form of stream here, and when it enters towards the plain area, it converts into a river. And can you see here on the right side, there's a tributary that is joining the river, tributary, a small river joining the big river. And the point where the small river meets the big river, we call that point of meeting as confluence, children. And when there is this river, it merges with the big water body. It can be ocean, it can be sea. Okay, the place of merging, where it is merging, we call it as the mouth. And sometimes this mouth also, the land near the mouth also forms some kind of deltas. Now, vegetation, when we are talking about the vegetation, that means we are talking about the plant, trees and flowers life. Okay, basically we are talking about the flora of any of the region, place or any of the country here. Evergreen forest, the name itself says forest that remains green throughout the year. That means that the forests which do not shed their leaves at one time. It is not like this forest does not even shed their leaves. Yes, the trees do shed their leaves, but what happens at one point of time, one type of trees, they shed their leaves, the other remains green. Then the other time, the other type of trees, they start shedding their leaves, and the rest of the trees remain greens. As it happens, like the trees, they at once shed their leaves in the autumn season, but it doesn't happen in the evergreen forest. See, this is the aerial view of the evergreen forest. Even the land is not visible. Can you see the forests are so dense? Dense we mean here is ghana. Now, what do we mean by marshy lands? When we are talking about marshy lands, it is an area of ground that is waterlogged. We also call it as wetlands, children, marshes. And you know, this is saturated with water either permanently or seasonally. It contains the aquatic vegetation here. It may be dry for extended periods also. It is filled with mostly trees, grasses, shrubs. Sometimes some wetlands contain no vegetation but only organic soil. See, this is the part of a land that you see in the picture is covered with water throughout the year. Okay, this is one type of marshy land, and this is other type of marshy land where you will see less of trees, but yes, the land area is covered with water with the where you can see there is no vegetation, but still the land is covered with water. And as the land remains totally covered with water, like around for the year, so the land becomes marshy. Now, when we talk about economic resources, that means we are talking about the factors that is used in producing goods or providing services. So when we are talking about resources, it means the things that is used to make other goods. Now, see, when we talk about resources, basically, we are going to talk about three resources, that is natural resources, human resources, and manufactured resources. And all these three resources are interdependent on each other. Like, for example, we can say, children, if you want book, so what will be the resource for the book? Primary resource, a natural resource would be wood. Okay, and then it will be converted into a book. Forestry. Forestry, here we mean the practice of managing forest lands for various uses. The people who are involved in taking care of the forest lands. Okay, so that involvement or that practice, we call it as the forestry. Livestock rearing. Livestock rearing here means, children, an activity that involves raising farm animals for human consumption or else for generating money. Okay, by selling meat, egg, milk, wool, skin, etc. So this is, we call it as livestock rearing. Now, next is cash crops. When we are talking about the cash crops, children, cash crops means the crops that is grown in order to be sold rather than to be used by the people growing it. For this, in class, I gave you the best example. Like, for example, your mother, you have a small garden at your home. Your mother, she has brought some saplings or some seeds of potatoes, ladyfinger, brinjal, and tomatoes. So after some time, when these plants will grow, will start growing different vegetables. So what your mother will do? She will use these vegetables for for her personal use rather than she will selling it in the market. So that becomes a food crop. But when farmers, they grow crops in their farm in order to sell it, they sell them in the market to earn profit or to earn money. We call it as cash crops. Now, number 10 is, children, primitive. When we are talking about primitive, that means we are talking about the belonging to a simple way of life that existed in the past and does not have modern industries and machines. Still, like when we are talking about primitive here, basically in this chapter, we will be talking about the people who still lives a tribal life, Adivasi. Tribal life, and they live a simple way of life. Okay, that means they are not using any modern machinery, industries, or machines or gadgets. Means their way of living is totally simple, so we call it as they live a primitive life. Okay, see here, the farmer is plugging a field without using any modern machinery. See, can you see a tribal person over here in the other picture, living in a hut? Okay, see the way he is hunting food. Okay, he's not using any modern or latest gadgets to hunt the food, the way he's cooking the food. So everything goes in a simple way without the use of gadgets and all. We call it as primitive. So this was all the new words, children. I am sharing the keywords also with you. So thank you and have a nice day. In the next class, we are going to do the explanation of the chapter.